Hi, the first question I was wondering was, what made you decide to make Sherman 2?
That's a that's an odd question though. Not really, but I actually made Sherman one. It was just called Sherman. It was a test map initially, just doing some texture alignment stuff and added a tank and a flag and just sort of eventuated into a map. But it was quite big and it was really good in pub. A lot of people responded well to it, and the back alleys were just horde because they were big and they were campy, and that's what pub players like, no-name players was liked. And I decided to make a smaller version. I didn't have league play in mind. I just thought, yep, let's make a smaller version of this. Maybe it'll take a little more skill to play, and that was it.
How did you get involved with Cal? Did they come to you and say, "Hey, we like your map. We'd like to use it in our league"?
I was actually spamming about my new map that I'd released, blah blah blah, forum post link, all that stuff. And Greg, everyone knows Greg, Cal admin, messaged me and said, would you like to adapt it for Cal? And we just sort of went from there.
Now, as far as the initial adaptations went, when you went from Beta 5 to the initial preseason version for Cal, what were the major changes you had in the map from the pub version to the version that was used in preseason?
There wasn't a whole lot. The spawn, the spawns were the main thing really, because when I showed it to Cal, they said, it'd be better if spawns had more exits, more clearly defined, because the spawns were just really small. So I went and fixed the spawns, uh, adjusted the flag placement as per request, and that was pretty much it.
And what made you decide to make a linear map as opposed to a flanking map like Anzio Harrington? Is that just the way it worked out from when you were making your test map? It just happened to be a long road and you just threw a tank and a flag down?
Yeah, exactly. It did come from that. I didn't see any point in changing it because, as I said, it was just really to make it smaller. If you can actually play Sherman, you'll see there's even a third route which gets mentioned a lot, and it's pretty symmetrical, except the back alleys are as they are in Sherman too. They're completely different on each side.
What is this third route you speak of? To my knowledge, there's just the back alley and the main road. Were you planning on adding a third route, or was there a third route in the original Sherman?
Yeah, the map kind of ended out too small for there to be a third route in Sherman 2, but in Sherman 1 there was, and it went pretty much from each spawn around the middle. But you got to remember the roads in Sherman 1 were just absolutely huge, and they weren't like you'd get a few people pushing up the roads, but the bulk of the people went by the back alleys or the middle third route. The main street was pretty empty most of the time.
So basically, with the third route farther back towards the spawns, when you had that added in, it would pretty much draw away from the other back alley since there was no reason to really go back there when you could just push right into the mid or through that other alley to get where you needed to go.
Yeah, that's what I thought at first, but playing it in pub, I always liked to push middle alley because it was really easy to just peek out of an archway on the other side and just pop guys coming into the main street, or there's a nice little gap I made. But still, a lot of people would go the back alley. Like the majority of people would go the back alley because they like to camp it. And I hate to say it, but that has sort of carried on. Except I don't see Sherman played in pub all that often. And I haven't played Sherman 2 on pub. I mean,
Now, speaking of camping the back alley, I noticed in the newest version that you've released for Cal, in the back alleys you tended to remove the majority of the stuff and rounded off some of the corners. Was that mainly due to complaints of the community? I know a lot of people claim they dislike camping and call every map campy, even though camping is a major part of the game. or did you just feel it'd be better for competitive play to remove the objects from the back alley?
I tried to listen to people, and a lot of the majority of people did agree with the corner issue in the back alleys. Really, it's just a few key corners that have one that have rounded off, a couple that I've cut out completely by chucking a fence there, whatever. Also changed the flower box by Axis second because I didn't get any complaints about it, but I watched a few Half-Life TV demos of it, and there's people just camping behind that. And I think it's just generally less campy, and it's what people wanted. So even though it is always going to be campy to a degree, there's no more corners in Sherman 2 than there is in Anzio, Donna, whatever you like.
Now, whenever you decided to remove a lot of the stuff from the back alleys, I know a lot of that was aesthetically pleasing. Do you feel that it was a disadvantage to you as a mapper to remove that stuff that made the map look so good? Or are you more concerned with making the competitive community happy? I know in the original maps you had the graveyard as like spawn protection, and you had a lot of flower beds to make the map look really nice. Were you more concerned with getting this into Cal and making it a good competitive map, as opposed to making it a fun map for pubs?
It's always tough trying to go for functionality over looks, you know. But really, I did have to balance it out for competitive play because I'd rather see it played in Cal because that's pretty much every mapper's dream. I mean, you can get a map on pub, that's no problem. But getting a map in league play, especially the best league in the world, is a pretty big deal. So I tried to make it as good for the community as possible, and you know, removing certain things from the map that made it look better is just part of that. Just had to compromise some of it.
Well, I'm sure the community appreciates your hard work and dedication to making the map fun for competitive play. I had a question about the area next to the middle by the tank. I know in the first release of the Cal version of Sherman 2, you had that ledge on the Axis side, and in the new version, it's on the Ally side. What made you decide to move the ledge from one side as opposed to the other?
I just thought the Allies just had so much more advantage coming into the middle than the Axis do, especially because when I looked at it, like really sort of analysed the map, okay, you've got the Axis sniper building, and that comes out a lot further than the other buildings on the Allied side. So the Allies have got more room to come around that corner leading into middle, and the Axis really don't. It's really a grenade bottleneck. So I just thought everything is pretty well even, except for the fact that the Allies in the middle, everything's pretty even, except for the fact that the Allies have their alley coming out, and you can see it from the corner. So I just thought give Axis a little bit of an advantage there.
Now, as far as the nades of the buildings, I know in the previous version, a lot of people are complaining of being naded by God. What was the main problem with that, and how did you fix it going into the new version?
The main problem with that was, which people totally said, people were saying stuff like, oh, there's no skybox. If there's no skybox on that map, you'd be getting about 3 FPS. But the way that grenades go through the skybox on Half-Life is on DoD is pretty bad because the grenades would actually go through a skybox, a wall thick, 16 unit skybox thick. Grenades would just go straight through it. So what I had to do, I didn't really have any choice. I had to place some wall entities, invisible walls up there to block the grenades. So basically, if you throw a grenade up there, they're just going to bounce back at you. Good luck.
Now, do you feel that hurts the realism of the map? I mean, people can see that that they should be able to throw the nade over the building, and they throw it up in the sky, and it bounces back in their face. Or do you think that it's more important to have to have it good for competitive play. I know that there's on this map it's still very nade heavy, a lot of nades still flying around the corner, but I know a lot of people are happy now that they can't get mysteriously naded. Do you feel that it's a good idea to limit where they can throw their grenades, even though it looks like they should be able to throw it over the building, or do you feel it's better for competitive play?
If it were viable, I mean, if DoD were or if you could make a game that was realistic, it would be a lot like that. But I mean, if facing the public outcry about the nades over roofs, I didn't see one person say anything positive about it until after I had changed it. So, I mean, the community decided that one. It was never intended in the first place, but competitively, in that respect, I think it's a lot better because, I mean, no one likes getting naded from nowhere. You like to have a little bit of warning, even if you just see it come into your screen and it explodes in your face. But it's better than being naded from nowhere.
Do you feel that it was blown out of proportion by the community? Do you feel it's as bad as they claimed, or do you just feel that it was just the thought of being grenaded and not really seeing the grenade fall in front of your face?
I think it was a genuine issue, and I knew nothing of it. I mean, I should have really tested a lot better, but I didn't go around throwing nades over roofs. But yeah, sort of not answering a question though, am I?
Well, yeah, I understand what you're saying. I mean, once a map gets into league play, people are going to try and find every little exploit possible. I know whenever Solitude Beta 2 first came out, people found all sorts of ways to throw nades into the mid over mysterious walls, and that's just one of the things that happens. Everybody's looking for ways to shoot people through random walls, throw nades over random buildings. It's just one of the big differences between league play and pub play.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I know a few good spots. The nade into bunker from Axis Street's a good one, and yeah, there's quite a few little nade tricks in DoD, but being able to throw over every roof is pretty ridiculous. But like I said, it was a genuine issue, and the community voiced it. They just voiced it strongly. It was fixed, and if anyone wants it changed back, they're definitely going to be the majority. I mean, the minority.
What are some other major changes you made from the preseason version to the regular season version, besides removing a lot of stuff from the back alley, changing the ledge, and blocking off the roofs?
I tried a bit of another thing which I tried to work on was FPS optimization, which was really just messing around with the skybox and yeah, Half-Life skybox is this. It's just dodgy. That was my main thing, and obviously all the fixes were something, you know, fixing the rubble, fixing the flower box height so people couldn't prone in them, you know, moving that annoying impact crater, and fixing the tank. But that one thing about that tank issue was that was actually a fault of mine. In the entity properties, there's something called drop to floor, where the model would actually just drop to the nearest floor, and that was checked. But the problem was the model was sitting exactly between the like on the rubble line, the top of the rubble. So, you know, in about 50% of the time, the tank would actually drop down to the next brush, which was the road, and the other 50% it would just sit on top of the rubble because it couldn't decide half the time which brush it wanted to drop to. So people saying, oh, there's a big bug, it never happened for me. God knows why, but it never happened for me. I never got that bug until I saw it being played by other people, and they said it's a bug. Whereas most people initially just assumed it was something wrong with the map. It was me clipping the tank poorly. It wasn't actually. It was the model had a setting, and it was bad.
So basically what the problem was, the model, one of the settings was set for it to fall down once the map loaded, but so the model was falling down, but the hitboxes weren't falling with it.
Correct. You use a a system called clipping, yes, which is basically you make a brush that is the exact shape of the tank, and you just make that in metal, but it's no part away of the model. So that, like I said, I mean, some people experienced where it would actually sit where it normally should, because it would. I mean, I don't know. I didn't really investigate it totally. It might have been due to the server loading it and deciding where it wants to sit the model, or it might have been the players. I couldn't care less anymore, because I mean that issue's been fixed, and it took me about 2 minutes to fix it once I actually identified what the problem was.
I have a question about the route from Axis going to the main street to the tank. Between the two tanks, what was the reasoning behind removing that giant rubble pile and just putting in some extra crates in a wall that juts out? Was there any bugs with the rubble pile, or did you just feel it'd be better for clan play?
Well, I assumed that people talking about nades jumping over rubble, that was another thing that people made an issue of. And I mean, the map being played in pre-season, which it wasn't initially scheduled for, just did wonders for it, because otherwise it would have been really bad. But yeah, people said nades jumping off rubble and stuff was pretty bad. So, and that one being the biggest, and I could easily, I mean, throwing nades around that corner and watching them bounce off that was just bad. So I decided just to scrap it completely. I think it was doing more harm for the Axis than good, so it was gone.
And what was your decision based on to move the Axis flag up a little bit more away from their spawn?
Basically people saying the same thing. I mean, pretty much everything I've done to the map has been user feedback. So after it was played in pre-season, I got a whole bunch of big posts, a lot of abuse, a lot of actual constructive criticism, and that was mainly attributed to actual people who stood out and said, you know, it's going to be a decent map if it gets fixed, and suggested changes.
So what was the main complaint about the Axis last flag? Were they upset about spawn camping, too hard to get to it?
I think it was more too close, hard to cap.
Do you feel the current map is sided one way or the other with the Axis or the Allies at the current time?
It's a shame that I haven't actually played it in a scrim. I mean, it's bad, I know, but I haven't played it in a scrim. So I really can't comment on that. Early on we played some early pubs of it. Not the current version. I haven't pubbed the current version of it, but I was playing some pub and it seemed really Allied biased.
Yeah, that's what I have noticed myself too. That it seems a little ally-sided. Although in general, across most the maps in DoD, they tend to be more ally-sided. That may just be because of the weapons. Do you feel that it's better to make maps that are extremely even as possible for both sides, or do you feel it's more entertaining and of better value to make it lopsided, as in like an avalanche? Do you feel that adds something to the game where it's more lopsided? I know, especially in league play, you get to play both sides, so it shouldn't be that much of an issue. How do you feel about that situation?
I've had recent conversation on forums with people, and yeah, I feel like, I mean, my biggest problem is mapping is I lack ideas. That's it, simply as possible. So yeah, if I could make a map that was all over the place, yeah, I would. If it would be good. I feel though any map that gets played, no matter how biased it is to one side, and I do feel strongly about this, it's never affected me personally. I mean, like you said, you get to play both sides. There's just you can't say you can lose due to a map. Okay, you have to, in DoD, you have to be able to adapt to any map, any style of play, and I think that makes a player better anyway. If you only play one way, then you're not a very good dodder.
How do you feel about the issue that the Cal isn't too keen on playing British maps in league play? Do you feel that it'd be fun to have a British style map in league play, or do you feel it's a legitimate concern that the British are bad with the current weapons they have available to them?
I definitely think the Brits weapons just don't cut it. I mean, versus the Axis weapons, it's just not going to happen. I can't see Cal incorporating Brit maps anytime soon, at least until they give them some good weapons. I mean, obviously you've got to give them weapons from their military, but I don't see it happening anytime soon.
Do you have any plans to try and make any maps in the future to try and get into league play, whether it be Cal or another league? Or do you feel Sherman 2 is probably just going to be your one prize you're going to try and keep into league play?
That's a weird. I'm always mapping, there's not a week goes by that I don't map. I've probably got about 50 maps for various different games that I haven't even finished. I just work some until I get bored with it and never release it. I have plans to make a natural selection map in the very immediate future. I currently work on a few mods, one which is Battlegrounds Revolutionary War mod, and Dystopia, which is a Half-Life 2 modification, cyberpunk style. It's pretty good. So I'm always mapping, and I'm also working on a couple of secretive dot source type projects.
Do you have any plans on converting Sherman 2 over to DoD source?
It has to be. I mean, if Cal wanna keep playing it, I mean that's all I can hope for, really. That leagues want to play it, and I hope that I can still improve on it. To me, Sherman is nowhere near done. It's still a definite work in progress, and I think some of the good things I'm going to do within Source are, do what people said, make the streets a bit bigger, maybe mess around with a few things. I don't know. We'll see what happens, but I'm definitely going to have to ask for some more feedback on it and see what people think. But a big thing which has come out lately, even after the fixes, has been people want their back alleys to be a bit bigger and to sort of reduce the effectiveness of nades, which I'm not exactly sure on how I'm going to do that, but if there's some good suggestions coming out, I'm definitely going to investigate that.
Do you feel that it'd be a good idea to release another version of Sherman 2 before Source comes out? Or are you going to start focusing the majority of your attention on Source and just say, this is the final version of the map for Cal and regular DoD?
There's definitely room for improvement. I've heard that Cal's going to have Cal are going to have another season before, at least before Dod Source is going to be used, there's definitely time for more updates. I think we'll see how it goes week 6 and see what people think, see what they want, and I'll examine some Half-Life TV demos, but there's definitely room for improvement, room for changes.
Okay, well, I want to thank you for your time in the interview process and for making such a great map and contributing so much time and effort into making it what the users wanted for Cal, and I appreciate you coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, dude. Yeah, good luck to everyone in Cal Week 6. I hope everything works out, and throw us some feedback afterwards. Thanks for the interview.
You're welcome. Is there a way people can get in contact with you if they have any suggestions for improvements on the map?
Yes, well, Dodflix will be back up in a couple of days' time, and you'll be able to reach me via email. And also, I'm starting my own mapping site. Should be up in a couple of weeks, which will be mapmonger.com. But I'll definitely spam some forums about that one.